Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast. Our signing day, class of 2024 recruiting capsules continue. Our latest now, the Buckeyes tight end position was important for Ohio State in the 2024 class, wanting to get two. No drama here, really. I think they're getting their guys, and no last-minute craziness there, as we've seen at some other positions. Max LeBlanc, four-star prospect at a Baylor school, Chattanooga, Tennessee, has signed with Ohio State. He is Canadian, so he's doing, I guess I don't say prep school, but he was kind of transferred into the States here to get some American high school football in at a really prestigious program down there in Chattanooga. And this was a guy that I think the Buckeyes were hopeful to land very early in the process, but didn't always look like they might get him. But Keenan Bailey worked this one really hard. Was a big early pickup for Keenan Bailey as a first year tight ends coach. And I think this is one that kind of fits the mold. If you like what you saw from Cade Stover, I think LeBlanc's that type of guy. He's a bigger bodied kid. He can block, catch the ball, pretty balanced tight end. Again, one of the quieter kids in the class, Kevin, and not a lot of drama here.
Yeah, I wasn't sure this kid actually existed until I finally saw him on campus, because didn't do interviews. We tried to find a way on Southern Swing to get down and see him, and it just didn't come together. And so I'm like, well, this kid's a ghost or something, a Canadian ghost, eh? So he commits to Ohio State in mid-April, and that's about all we heard about him. And you go and you pop in the tape. There's not even a ton of tape of him. A lot of kids put a ton of tape out there on Huddle. I'll run the 40 seconds I have of him here in a second. But I think it's a big get because of Ohio State. We don't officially know what's going on with Cade Stover. I think he goes. That's my prediction. We'll see at that point. Ohio State lose. What is the state of the tight end room if you do lose Cade Stover at that point? I mean, you got Bennett Christian, you've got Sam Hart. I mean, you've got some of these guys, but I mean, obviously everybody's going to be talking about Jelani Thurman, but I like LeBlanc's game. I think he's somebody who can step up into a role relatively quickly. I'm not saying it's going to be an immediate situation, but you go through, you lose Joe Royer. I think that the room is got some possibilities.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity here for Max, especially, he's not like 100% physically ready, but he's close. He's not a guy they've got to put on like 50 pounds or something. He's a true inline tight end, natural pass catcher, good run after the catch guy. Like I said, if you like Cade Stover, I think you'll really like Max LeBlanc. I think he's very similar in build, very similar in athleticism, skill set, tough kid. Again, I think coming to the States, playing at the Baylor school was a really good thing for his development, to get acclimated. And I agree with you. I think there is opportunity in the tight end room right now. I tend to think it will be Jelani Thurman and someone like a G. Scott or some veteran next year that will kind of bridge the gap to this tight end class, which I think is very good. I think it's a very good tight end class for the Buckeyes. But I agree with you. I think get into the strength conditioning program, pick up the offense, make sure the blocking's there. You got to be able to block if you're going to play in line, but could be a definite year two contributor, in my opinion. I don't like, even Jelani, as much as I loved him, seeing him in the spring, I'm like, first year tight end is just so it's a really difficult position to get out there early. It's almost like offensive line in that sense. There's a lot to pick up. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of physical development that has to take place to be able to block. But I'm with you. I think year two could be his year. And I don't say that very often about tight ends. Usually it takes, till year three to really make a name, but I could see him, being a big factor year two. It's hard to go through his story because he didn't tell his story to anybody hardly. I mean, we sit here and we talk, well, who'd they beat out? Well, I don't know. He got a lot of offers. He never really did the top school list thing. He never, we can speculate.
No, the only thing we know is that Keenan Bailey was there the day up in Canada, seeing him the day after he got carjacked after going to Cleveland Glenville. That is my Max LeBlanc story.
Yes, the day after he saw the other tight end in the class. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm excited to learn more. Like a lot of these kids you get to know during the process. I talk to them a lot. Kevin gets to talk to them. We see them at camps. We go to their games. We do Southern Swing, go to the All-American Bowl. And we see like so much of these guys. And I think we are supposed to see Max at the All-American Bowl. So stay tuned. We will prove his existence, hopefully, and get some good stuff from him on his journey. But we're just used to knowing a lot about these kids when they get to campus. We're almost ahead of the curve of like the beat, so to speak, because we're covering them as sophomores in high school. But Max is obviously a little bit different. We just don't know as much about him as a person as we do some of these other guys. But what I will say is we do really like what we see of him physically and on film. And for Keenan Bailey, and I think we're safe to talk about both guys here. For Keenan Bailey to sign Max and Damarian Witten as his first tight end class, I think that's a tremendous first class, Kevin. I think that really shows the recruiting chops he has. We've talked about this as when he was just like an analyst or quality control guy. We used to talk about like, hey, like a lot of recruits talk about Keenan. He's part of the recruiting process. And so, we expected that to transition with him as he became a full-time, one of the 10 and was able to get on the road and do things. But I'm not sure you could have scripted this much better for him as a start to his tight end coaching career at Ohio State.
Yeah. And when he was helping Heartline recruit receivers, it wasn't like it was like, some schlub off to the side. It was Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis that were like, don't forget Coach Key. And then Coach Key, takes over the tight end role when Kevin Wilson moves on to take the head coaching job at Tulsa. And I think we all knew that Keenan Bailey would have a lot of success as a recruiter, but to be able to put it together in year one, the way he did, getting, two different types of players in LeBlanc and get in Witten, I think that it bodes very well. And, we've already seen Bailey's star on the rise. He was mentioned potentially for the ECU offensive coordinator job, which ultimately went to somebody else. But, I don't think he needs to be booking any long-term contracts with pest control companies or alarm services in Columbus, because, I think he's going to get plucked away here in the next year or two, because he is a rising star, and being able to get out there and close on Max LeBlanc in April of the cycle is testament to that.
Yeah. Just a hard worker on the recruiting trail. They're in on a bunch of good 2025 tight ends as well. So we'll kind of see how that plays out, but this is a room that's going to need to be turned over. You got a lot of veterans, we expect, Bennett Christian to come back and kind of be an added piece to that room, but, Cade Stover, very, very possibly off to the NFL. And so you're going to need to continue to replenish that room. And again, if the goal is to eventually be able to run a little bit more 12 personnel than they've been able to run the last year or two, this is a perfect tandem with LeBlanc and Witten. I think they just complement each other perfectly. So big signing for Ohio State with Max LeBlanc. Great job by Keenan Bailey on this recruitment. And a really big piece to this offensive class for the Buckeyes is now in the fold. So stick with us here. We got more recruiting capsules coming as the letters of intent roll in for the 2024 class at Ohio State. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. We'll see you again very soon.